What is up? Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason, who we haven't seen in, I don't know, quite some time. but
Yeah, I gotta go. See ya.
Yeah, so we are back. We're doing another show for our top 10 films. If you caught our series in the past, we basically started 1995, was it? Yeah, 1995.
Yeah,
I
long
almost
time
forgot the
ago.
year. It's been so long. So last year we started doing our top 10 films of every year, starting from 1995 when we first met, and we're getting all the way up to the present. And we are finally on 2017, which is technically our next to last year that we have to do in this year and a half project, because we've already done 2019 and 2020. So we'll be technically caught up. By the time we do 2017 and 2018, we will be caught up until obviously the end of this year, and then we'll do our 2021. So, and then who knows?
Yeah,
maybe we go back and do 1994 and before. So, you never know.
Sure.
Not immediately though, because I'm about done with these top tens for a little bit, at least in this capacity.
Yeah.
Of the year. So definitely.
Oh yeah.
Before we started and did something else. So.
I'm over the list I'm over the list shows at this point.
yeah, sure. Especially this one. Like I said, we might do some one-offs, like, actors or director top tens or something of that nature. I'd be okay with that, but I'm just done with like the top 10 films of each year shows. So because they're very complicated to do and to go back and think, and always having to like reorder my list, because especially in the earlier years, because a lot of those I hadn't looked at in like forever. And so, like, to go back and reshuffle and be like, did I like that film better? Yeah, like, well, maybe back in 1996 I did, but I don't know. I haven't seen it since then. So, yeah. It's been fun, though. I've still been enjoying it. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you guys as well. Cool. Well, I say without further ado, I say we get right into it. So we'll go ahead and start off with so this show will be number 10 through number 6. And then, obviously, we'll come back for... What?
We should do our challenge films first, right?
Is that on this show?
Yeah.
Do we watch challenge films? What were the challenge films? I don't even remember.
Well, mine was the Hitman's Bodyguard. I don't remember what I gave you.
I don't remember what it was now. I'm sure I watched it, but that was like months ago, so I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, because this was before your trip, like in June or whatever that was. So I'm not really for sure what that is about. Well, I guess I'll let you start, and you can start with the Hitman's Bodyguard, and I'll see if I can look up whatever you assign me. So.
Okay, all right. So, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. Well, take it away with the Hitman's Bodyguard then. How was that?
I liked it. All right, your turn. No, I mean, I liked it. It was one of those movies that I just, I wasn't interested in when it came out. Of course, I love Samuel L. Jackson, but, Ryan Reynolds, I didn't really care for Ryan Reynolds when he first came out, but he's done a lot of good stuff since. So I would say I like Ryan Reynolds now, even though back in 2017, I was probably still a little mixed on Ryan Reynolds. So, I don't know. I just took a pass on it, and it kind of gave me, I don't know why, but the trailer kind of gave me vibes like The 51st State. Do you remember that movie? Samuel L. Jackson, a.k.a. Formula 51, and I've really hated that movie. So I was like, oh, this looks like another 51st State. Another like Samuel L. Jackson slumming action comedy, Pulp Fiction wannabe kind of thing.
I could definitely see that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I took a pass on it. And Samuel L. Jackson, for better or worse, he'll do just about anything, you know what I mean? So it's not like, like if he's in a movie, it's not a guarantee, I wouldn't say. Yeah, it's good, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, he is my favorite actor, I would say, just because of the volume of movies and so many good ones that he's done. But even I don't line up for everything that he churns out, but I'm that way with almost anybody. I'd be more predicated to like a director being excited to like a film that a director is doing than I would be to like an actual actor, because actors have to take a lot of films, they're taking roles for a paycheck. You know what I mean? There's very few actors that really are super strict and picky about every single film that they do. But I did like that film a lot. It didn't make my top 10 or anything like that for this year, but I did like it quite a bit, and I do remember really, really enjoying it and thinking that it had a lot of comedy, a lot of action, and then obviously I saw the second part that just came out this year, which I also liked, but that was mostly because of Salma Hayek's character in the second one, because she's really funny because she has a much bigger role in this one than she did in the first part. So, but yeah, great. Yeah, I can't find that film that you assigned me. So if you remember anywhere during this discussion, I'll go back and give a review on it. But I just can't find it for some reason. So maybe I'll look it up between now and our part 2 of 2017, and if we can't remember what it was. So cool. So I have no clue. Like, it was just forever ago, so I don't even remember. And I watched it. I'm sure I watched it soon after you assigned it to me, which was whenever we did our 2016. Which I mean. I don't know.
Probably a month ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Early June. I don't know.
No, it couldn't. No, it couldn't have been because I had this injury already, and that happened on July 18th. So it couldn't have been any more than like a month ago. But still, that's a while. That's a while.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In any event, we'll just do our top 10. Start with the bottom half. Maybe it'll come to me and I'll remember what it was, but I'm not for sure.
Yeah, you can do it on the next one. You can do it on the next half.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure a lot of people out there remember what I gave you, and they're waiting on it.
They're waiting on it. Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you kick this one off with your number 10 film of 2017. So I'm going to bring that in for you. And that is going to be A Ghost Story.
Yes, I love this movie. This is kind of an unusual movie. It's not a horror film, which some people might expect the title. It's not a horror film, although it does have some sort of creepy stuff in it a little bit, but it's not a horror film. Basically, it's a film by a director who I'm a big fan of, an up-and-coming director named David Lowery, who did, his first movie I wasn't crazy about, a movie called Ain't Them Body Saints, which I was okay with. But then I really, really liked this movie. I really liked The Old Man and the Gun. I really liked his Pete's Dragon remake. And I really, I've heard nothing but good things pretty much about The Green Knight, but I haven't seen that one yet, mainly because I've been kind of homebound lately. But I really like his style. All of his movies are very different from one another. He's got kind of this earthy, but yet kind of philosophical, metaphysical take on things, and I really like it. Anyway, this movie is about, it truly is a ghost story. It's about a guy played by Casey Affleck who is killed in a car accident, and for the rest of the movie you just follow him along as a ghost. And it's kind of a risky movie because for the whole rest of the movie he looks like the ghost on the poster, kind of this cartoonish, kind of almost silly appearance of a ghost that we've all seen on Halloween, just like the cheap bed sheet with the eyes cut out. But everybody recognizes that as a ghost. Provided the hood's not pointed, which is not, that's a little different. But everyone recognized this sight as a ghost. And for the whole rest of the movie, he has no dialogue. He's just kind of there, and it's a very experimental film. I expected to like it. I expected to be kind of oh, that sounds interesting, but it's probably kind of boring. But it's not. It's a really interesting, thought-provoking, very unique movie, and Rooney Mara is also in it. She's amazing. She's got this. It's got a lot of really long, complicated takes, and there's one scene that's one take that I don't want to spoil it, but it's like, wow, I can't believe she actually, did that. That's commitment to your craft, and it's just a really interesting movie. It's definitely not for everybody. You got to have kind of a willingness to go, for movies that aren't, point A to point B. But I think it's a really interesting movie, and it's got surprising rewatch capability. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing. I expected, oh, that's an interesting idea, but it's probably really slow and only something I want to watch once. But I've really enjoyed rewatching it as well because it's got so many interesting layers. But yeah, that's I really like that movie a lot. So yeah, Ghost Story.
Cool. I haven't seen it, so can't comment on it. But sounds like a film.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's probably not your cup of tea. I'll be honest.
Yeah, sounds like a movie.
It's indisputably a movie.
Yeah, I will probably not be watching it, but you never know. You just never know. You just never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Cool. Well, moving on to my number 10, which is an interesting one because I found out I never actually did a top 10 for 2017. So when we did this one, I actually had to go back and figure out what my top 10 was. And I kind of was going off of what I rated films off of. And so this one actually came up as number 10, which surprised the heck out of me because I didn't think it would be my number 10 because it's kind of universally panned by most people, but we both like it. Number 10 is actually going to be the original Justice League. So not the Zack Snyder version, I guess, if you will, but the actual 2017 version that everybody panned that ended up getting basically redone with the Justice League cut by Zack Snyder. As you know, he basically had to step away from the project for a death in the family and then came back and last year or earlier this year, I think, and redid, all of his scenes and added it back and made it like this 4-hour epic long movie. This one is it's essentially the same movie. I mean, they did change a little bit here and there, and obviously the visual aspects of it were different in this one, and it is much more condensed. But the element's still there. I mean, you know what I mean? Like the shell of the film is still in this movie. It's just the other one is more expanded, which allows for, of course, more character development and things of that nature, which does, in my opinion, make it a much better film. But I still really enjoyed this one. So I know this one gets panned. A lot of people didn't like it for one reason or another. But I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good movie. Rewatching, I would probably go with the 2021 Zack Snyder's version if I had to rewatch either one of them. But for this one, until that one came out, would have been easily one that I would have rewatched over again for sure. So that's my number 10. Justice League, not the Zack Snyder version, I guess. Not his cut, anyways. So.
Yeah, I was one of the people that panned this one, man. Sorry. I am a Zack Snyder fan. I loved Batman versus Superman, but I remember when this came out, it just didn't. It did nothing for me, and I think seeing the Snyder cut, earlier this year, kind of explained why the earlier version did nothing for me, because it cut out all of the context and the character development and all those all the dark edges and stuff like that. So, and it made it more upbeat and more more brighter, literally brighter color-wise. So I don't remember really anything about the one that came out in 2017, except that coming off of the heels of Batman versus Superman, which I loved, and that's another one that a lot of people passionately hate.
Didn't like either, yeah. Even probably more so than this.
Yeah, and I don't get it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the hate on that one. I think it's great. But this one, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. So, but I did really, really, really like the expanded cut that came out this year a lot. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
sorry, man.
Not a problem. All right. Well, moving right along to your number 9. We'll bring that in.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be The Big Sick.
Yep. The Big Sick. This is, to me, it's like a really excellent example of just a comedy drama. You know what I mean? Like there are a million comedy dramas that come out every year, and a lot of them are fine, but every once in a while, I think one rises to a higher level, and this is one of those. It's just it hits every thing that it's supposed to do. It's funny, it's moving, it's well acted, it's got a really engaging story. In this case, it's loosely based on a true story. The star is Kumail Nanjiani. This is basically loosely based on a story from his life that he, started going out with this lady, and right after they started to, right after they met almost and started going out, she falls into a coma. And what happens when he sticks around, gets to know her family. There's all sorts of stuff, great stuff with his family. And then, of course, what happens when she wakes up from the coma, which is not what you might expect initially. But it's long, it's long, but I think it earns the length because it's consistently engaging. It's just a really good movie. I mean, like it's not trying to break the mold or blow your mind with its filmmaking style or anything like that. It's just a really good story, really well told. So yeah, that's my number 9.
Cool. Yeah, no, I actually like this one quite a bit. This is actually one that's actually going to appear on my countdown just a little bit further up. But I really did like it. Like I said, I don't want to go too much into it because, like I said, it's going to reappear anyways. But yeah, definitely one that I really did enjoy and thought the acting was great and the story was great as well. So yeah, great choice for sure. For once.
I
know. For once.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, moving on to my number 9, and I'll bring that in. That is actually going to be Atomic Blonde, which stars Charlize Theron and also, stars a bunch of people, but she's the main star. So it's set, in the 1980s? Right after was it before the Berlin Wall came down or right after? I can't remember. Or
I think it's right before.
Yeah, right before.
Yeah, I think it's right before. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's set in the 80s, and she's like a spy, and basically sent to Europe in order to find out what happened. There was like something that went wrong, like a covert op or something of that nature. Or somebody was turned, and so her job was basically come to find out exactly what happened. And she gets caught up in this conspiracy web thing. But it's an action film. It's kind of hard to explain because it is an action film, but there is a lot of drama to it as well. But it's got some really, really cool fight scenes, and I always love Charlize Theron and almost everything that she does. So she's really, really, really cool in this one. It definitely kicks a lot of butt. It's just a really, really good film, but it's weird because it's an action film, but it's not like straight action the entire way through. It's just like when there are action scenes, they're just over the top crazy, you know what I mean? So it's one of those films where there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of uncovering what's going on and all this kind of stuff. But then she gets in these fight scenes that just and they're almost, I hate to say realistic, but they're not all she's just going through just beating everybody quickly. You know what I mean? She gets hurt a lot in the film as well, Yeah. I guess you could kind of say it's kind of like John Wick in a way because he does get beat up sometimes in that film. But it's kind of a little bit more in that vein where, she does get, because she's fighting men, you know what I mean? Mostly. So, she does get beat up. She does get punched in the face and things of that nature. So it's just a really, really good action film in my opinion. So, and that's why it lands in the number 9 spot for me.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I love Atomic Blonde. It's not in my top 10, but I can tell you it's not far outside of the top 10. And it's I'll admit when it first came out, when I first started seeing trailers for it and stuff, I thought, yeah, this just looks like a John Wick ripoff. It's kind of a big thing these days. These usually set in Europe action movies that with really slick looking heroes and slick villains and everyone looks cool and it, what I mean? I love it. I love all 3 of the John Wick movies. And I thought this just looked like a ripoff, but I loved it. Yeah. Loved it. And I think, I think I might even prefer it to the John Wick films, even though I love all of those. There's something just kind of special about this one. And obviously I love the 80s, I love all the 80s music on the soundtrack. And I just think it's a really cool, enjoyable movie. So yeah, I love it. And Charlize Theron's great in it. The action scenes are great. I don't remember the story at all, but it's kind of the movie where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, most action films, you don't really have to know too much about the story, but definitely the action scenes are really good. And what's funny is actually, now a lot of the films, because this one gets compared to like John Wick, but there's actually a lot of films that have been coming out in the recent years that are being compared to Atomic Blonde. Like I think it's Ava with Jessica Chastain, and Gunpowder Milkshake, and a lot of the other ones are being compared to Atomic Blonde because a lot of these films are coming out, or Jolt. All these films are coming out and they kind of mirror a lot of what Atomic Blonde did. So it's just one of those things. Where everything is kind of compared to something else now. So
of course, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving on to number 8. And I'll bring that one in, and that is going to be the Meyerowitz story?
Meyerowitz stories, yeah. This is a kind of under the radar movie. Probably a lot of people haven't seen this. It's a Netflix movie, but I think it's a really special movie in my opinion. And it's very much my kind of movie. I will say I like these movies that are set in New York City. Just about like a extended family with a lot of really good actors, well cast. And I mean, there's a story. There's obviously a story, but that's mainly what kind of movie it is. And it is it's a Noah Baumbach movie. He's a pretty established director. He's made a lot of acclaimed movies like The Squid and the Whale, Greenberg, Francis Ha. I can't remember the others. There's a lot of other ones, but a bunch of them, yeah. This one seems to be kind of overlooked, and I like all those other movies, but I think this might be, admittedly, I haven't rewatched The Squid and the Whale in a very long time, probably at least 10 years. And I remember really loving that. But having not seen that in a while, I think this might be my favorite of his movies, and I think that's mainly because, his movies are generally pretty, I don't want to say cold, but they're definitely, they definitely don't involve very sympathetic people a lot of the times. You know what I mean? They're about people who are selfish or self-involved and nasty to one another for the most part, and that can make a great movie. I love a lot of movies where everyone's nasty to each other. It's funny, it's dark, it's clever, whatever. But this movie, I think it's probably my favorite because I did actually care about a lot of the people in there, and it's got a little bit of a heart, unlike most of his films. I did like Mistress America. Mistress America is another one that has actually a little bit of a heart to it, I think. But I just really like this movie. I remember it came out around Christmas time. It's the kind of movie that I like to watch around Christmas time. It gave me memories of seeing the Royal Tenenbaums when it came out around Christmas. So yeah, it's got a great cast: Dustin Hoffman, Adam Sandler, Ben Stiller. Just this great ensemble cast, this great New York City atmosphere, great performances, great dialogue. It's just my kind of movie just to stretch out and enjoy for 2 hours. So I love this movie. That's my number 8.
Yeah, I thought it was just okay. I didn't think it was as good as The Squid and the Whale. I thought that was a much more funnier film. So it's got that. They all kind of are quirky comedies in a way. They're like dark comedies or quirky comedies, however you want to describe it. And this one obviously got Greenberg's kind of the same way. This one's got comedians in it also, so it's got some of that same undertones. But I don't know. This one just kind of it didn't do anything for me, really, personally. I just didn't think it was that interesting. The story I thought wasn't as good. I didn't think the characters were that funny to me or that interesting to me to where I was that invested in the story all the way around. So I would actually go with The Squid and the Whale of Greenberg over this one personally. And I can't remember his other films, but I know he's made at least one other one that I really liked also, I thought. But yeah, I would put this one down towards the latter of the ones that I've seen anyways of his. So, but yeah, to each their own. So
yeah.
Yeah, this one gets forgotten probably for good reason. So
whatever, man. See, you were doing okay until that last line.
No, I'm just messing with you, man. It's like I said, it wasn't for me. It wasn't. I didn't think this one was as good as the other ones personally. So
yeah, all right.
But hey,
whatever
things. You can be the odd man out. I'm sure there's others that agree with you somewhere.
That's okay. I'm used to it. Cool.
All right, well, moving on to my number 8, which is actually going to be 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which stars Frances McDormand, who's great and everything. This one is basically one about her basically trying to find out. Shit, I haven't seen it so long. I'm trying to remember if her daughter was missing or if she was murdered. I can't remember now. I think she was murdered. And she's been putting billboards up all over town looking for basically, trying to find clues to find out the killer, basically. And so basically it's kind of a dark comedy because there's a lot of funniness to it. But obviously it deals with some very serious stuff, like, because she's been searching for, her daughter's killer for years and trying to get more information into what happened to her. So she's basically kind of having a constant struggle with like local law enforcement who've been, basically were working the case, but kind of have moved on to other cases now. And I just thought it was a really, really good film. I want to say she won an Oscar for this one. I don't remember. She wins an Oscar almost for every film that she does, or at least is nominated.
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah, I want to say she did. So, but yeah, she's like one of those actresses that just doesn't act all the time, but she usually carefully picks roles that are best suited for her. So even if you don't love the movies that she's in always, her acting is always great, and you can always see why she gets nominated for an Oscar almost every time she comes out the gate, just because she's just such an amazing actress, So, so I really enjoyed this one. I thought the acting was good, and I thought it was also very, very funny as well. So it's kind of more in the tone of not as funny as like Fargo, of course, but that more like there's some humor there, you know what I mean? Even though they're dealing with some serious subject matter. So that's what I really liked about this one. So that is my number 8 film.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I don't remember too much about it. I've only seen it the one time. I do remember like having some issues with the script. I don't remember what those issues were. I just remember I had a few misgivings about it, but I still liked it. I mean, it was still really well acted. It was unpredictable. It was funny, but also poignant. So like it did what it was supposed to. I remember having some misgivings about it, but I don't really remember what those were. So, but yeah, good movie.
Cool. All right, we're moving right along to your number 7, and that is going to be It.
Oh man, I love this movie so much. I'm a big horror fan. I'm a big fan of many or most Stephen King adaptations. Definitely not all, but most, I would say, a lot. And this is one of the best Stephen King adaptations we've had in a long time. And I'm glad that it has been, as well received as it was, because horror movie fans especially are very skeptical of remakes or reboots or anything like that. So obviously the miniseries that came out in 1990 of It, a lot of horror movie fans are very, very attached to that movie, myself included. I watched it when I was 12 when it came out. It aired on 2 nights, and I remember it being really scary and really awesome, and I've watched it many times. So I have a deep nostalgic attachment to the first miniseries of It, and I think it's still really good. I just watched it before this came out. And it's got its problems, It is still a 1990 TV movie, and it comes with those kind of limitations, but it's still really good. And Tim Curry is still just like amazing in that movie. I love it. But I will go on record as saying that I think this movie outdoes it. I think it is every bit as scary, and it's got unmistakable advances in special effects and just cinematography. It's got that beautiful widescreen cinematography and just the overall caliber of the cast and everything. I think it does, as much as I love the original miniseries, I think this outdoes it. It's really scary, really well cast. Bill Skarsgård is great. I don't think he outdoes Tim Curry. That's the one thing that I think the miniseries still has on the new version. I will say that Tim Curry to me is still the scariest Pennywise. But I think it's just a great movie. I do have slight misgivings about Chapter 2, but I think Chapter 1 is almost perfect as far as horror movies go, especially horror remakes or reboots or whatever you want to call them go. So, yeah, I think it's a phenomenal movie. Just talking about it, I want to watch it again right now.
No, absolutely. No, I love this version for sure. It's actually one that's going to appear up on my countdown as well. So it'll be in my top 10 also. But I really do love this one. Yeah, I mean, I've rewatched the TV version well before this one came out, but definitely well after 1990, obviously. So I don't know, 2010, 2012, something like that. And I remember watching it as an adult and not liking it as much as I liked it when it was a kid. It just felt a little more made for TV, a little more hokey
Oh
in
yeah.
some parts. So I don't know. I just don't that version. I don't really wouldn't have a reason to revisit it. Obviously, we can argue about who was a better, monster or a clown, but I don't know. Overall, that one was just really, really hokey to me, and it felt hokey and it felt dated. Now, granted, it was made in 1990 and it is a TV film, but I mean, I have to go on it with where it was. It was a TV film that feels like a TV film. You know what I mean? It's just one that I never revisited after that, anyways. And now moving forward, if I want to watch it, I'm only going to watch this one, even though, and I agree with you as well, the second one's not as good as this one, but I still like the second one as well. So I still like Chapter 2 also. It's just not quite as good, which is usually the case with most sequels anyways. So, but definitely really, really enjoy this one quite a bit. So great choice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving right along to my number 7, and that is going to be Baby Driver. Just a really, really good, fun action car chase film. It's got a great cast, just really, really fun. I really, really enjoyed this film quite a bit. I'm an action junkie, so if action's done well, I'm all over it. It's just really cool. It's got bank robbery scenes in it, which I also really love. So it's just like one of those films that I felt like is kind of like tailor made for me. Great cast, lots of good action, very suspenseful, lots of bloodletting here and there. I just really enjoy it. I think Baby Driver is just a really, really good action film. Definitely one of the better action films that I've seen in the last few years for sure. So that's why it ends up number 7 on my countdown. Number 7 is Baby Driver.
Yeah, I love Baby Driver too. It's definitely one that's going to appear in my countdown a little higher up. But I think it's great. I think it's everything that you mentioned. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite filmmakers. He also made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and The World's End. And it's just, for some reason, Baby Driver, I don't know why, but it reminds me of True Romance. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like the tone of it. You know what I mean? It's got a lot of action. It's very funny. It's got a great soundtrack. It's bright and colorful. But it's also got it's got a little bit of depth to it. I don't know why, but I always can, I think they would make a really good double feature for some reason, but, it's got an ensemble cast, unpredictable. But yeah, I love it. It's one that I've watched, at least 4 times. And oh yeah, he also did Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I always forget about that one because it seems not really like the other ones. But he's definitely one of my favorite filmmakers. And I hear there's a sequel in the works for this, and I would be, all up for that for sure.
For sure. Yeah. How they would do that, I don't know yet, but yeah, definitely I would be interested.
Yeah.
Definitely won't be. There's the poster is basically of all the main stars in the film. Definitely will be sans pretty much 90% of the people that you see in the poster. without going into spoilers. But yeah, no, definitely would be interesting to see that one also for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
Moving on to your number 6, and that is going to be Gerald's Game.
Yeah, so this is another kind of under the radar Netflix movie, but it's also a Stephen King adaptation. It is Stephen King had a good year there. It's always a good year to be Stephen King because he's always got 75 books coming out and adaptations of all of his work from the beginning all the way up till now. But around the time it came out, I remember that was an especially busy time for him. There was just stuff coming out all over the place. There was that Pet Sematary remake that was okay. Both chapters of it. This is this is an adaptation of Gerald's Game, of course, which is more of a kind of it's basically a horror movie, but it's more kind of a dramatic thriller, more kind of in the mold of like Misery or Dolores Claiborne, that kind of thing. But it's about it's got kind of a little bit of a seamy story, but it's about a couple who are at this kind of secluded place, and they're having sexual escapades where that involves the woman played by oh my god, I can't remember her name right now. Oh man, this drives me crazy because I love her. I think she's great. Maybe it'll come to me in a second, but yeah, and she's in a lot of good stuff, and I can't remember her name all of a sudden.
I can't remember her name either.
Carla Gugino. Yeah. Carla Gugino. Yeah. She's handcuffed to the bed, and her husband has a heart attack and dies, and then she's tied to the bed, and she has no way of getting out. So the movie is kind of this internal dialogue that she has also with her husband kind of in her head, in her head version of her husband. Meanwhile, there are external threats. There's this dog that's threatening. There's maybe an intruder trying to get in that might be just in her imagination or not. But it's definitely one of Stephen King's more kind of internal kind of stories. But I think it's really like marvelously well done. The acting in this movie is incredible. The writing, the directing. It's also directed by Mike Flanagan, who is another one of my very favorite up-and-coming directors, especially horror directors. He's obviously really into Stephen King, which is cool, because he did this. He did Dr. Sleep. He did a movie called Hush that I really loved. He did a movie called Oculus that I really loved, which was very Stephen King influenced. He did The Haunting of Hill House miniseries on Netflix, which was also very Stephen King influenced, you can tell. But he obviously has an affinity for this kind of story, and it's just really well done. It's very suspenseful. I like movies that are confined to one location, movies where a character is trying to escape from a very intense situation. And Carla Gugino is just gives an amazing performance in this movie, with so many layers to it. So yeah, I think it's definitely one that I think gets slept on a lot, but I think people should check it out, especially Stephen King fans who may have missed this in the spate of adaptations that were coming out around that time. So yeah, it's definitely one that I highly recommend, and it has rewatch ability too, because I watched it I think at least twice at this point. Yeah, but yep, I love this movie. Even give it the edge over It slightly.
Yeah, apparently you did. I definitely will not be giving it the edge over It. That's for sure. Yeah, I didn't care for this one so much. It was too confined. I mean, I don't necessarily hate movies where they're confined, but it was just I don't know. There just wasn't enough meat to it for me. It was just pretty much her tied to the bed in her head kind of thing. And I don't know. Just for me, there just wasn't enough there for me. So it just didn't do anything for me. Another one where, unfortunately, I can see why it probably got overlooked. It's just too. It's just too restrictive. There's just not enough going on there for me for this film. Like I said, she's more or less, and there's not a spoiler. It's on the picture. More or less tied to the bed, pretty much the entire film. You know what I mean? And it's just like one of those films where it's just like everything else is either a flashback or a reenactment, maybe in her head or something of that nature. And I don't know. There just wasn't enough there for me to really get fully invested in the film ever. I was always just kind of like waiting for something else to happen. And everything else that was happening wasn't really as interesting as I was hoping for, and not to be too picky, but it's like one of those things where it's just like, if you're a husband and wife, you're going to want to do all these kinky things. Why not just lock the door? I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's just like, I don't understand why you wouldn't have just locked the door before you're going to get ready into all these kinky escapades. But, so I don't know. So just from the jump, I was already kind of like, why would you leave the door open? That's just dumb. So, but I don't know. That's just my thought. So like I said, I can't necessarily agree with you on that one. I thought it was just okay, but I didn't love this one, and definitely not better than It. So, or any of the other more recent adaptations. I don't even like it better than It 2. So, but or It Chapter 2, I should say. But yeah, cool. Another one where I can sorry, unfortunately, see why it probably didn't, light up the world like some of his other films did. So they came out recently. So
whatever.
But cool. All right.
Oh, I know.
Moving on to my number 6, which we've already addressed, which is The Big Sick. So yeah, I really, really like this movie. I wasn't really expecting too much of it. It's a love story in a sense, but it's really funny in a lot of parts as well. It's also dealing with, obviously, like I said, somebody that's in a coma, not knowing whether or not she's going to live or die, or what's going to happen with her. And then there's a lot of other things about their relationship because they're in an interracial. Not only are they in an interracial relationship, they also come from 2 different cultures as well. More so with his culture being very, wanting him to be with somebody of his own religion and that sort of thing and his own background, and so there's also that power struggle in the film as well. So there's a lot of different layers to the film. But I really liked it. I thought it was a really, really good story. Like I said, it is kind of based on, based partially on kind of like his real life story. And he's obviously a comedian, but he's really, really funny in here. I thought the film has a lot of humor and it has a lot of heart. So yeah, I definitely enjoy this one quite a bit. It's like one of those ones that didn't expect a whole lot from it, but was very pleasantly surprised. So definitely one I highly recommend. If you like, and I'm not a big romantic comedy person. I wouldn't necessarily classify this as a romantic comedy because there's many serious elements to it. But there are some romantic elements to the film, especially you're hoping that things are going to go a certain way. And it, like you said before, it doesn't quite go the way you're going to want it to go. And I kind of like that about it as well, that it doesn't follow the real simple formula that you were just expecting to happen. You know what I mean? So I like that about it as well. But yeah, it's a very, very good film. I thought he was great in there. I thought everybody was great in this one. So for sure.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, that is it. That's our countdown.
That's it.
So obviously we have a second half where we'll do our number 5 through number 1. So you'll definitely want to come back for that whenever we get that going. That'll probably be sooner rather than later, probably, because I don't like to space them out so far apart between those two. Maybe before we do the next show, I'll remember whatever that film was you assigned me, and then I can just do a review on the next show. So,
yeah.
And then we'll obviously have to do our challenge films for 2018 for that show as well. So you'll definitely want to check back for that because that's where we'll find each other a film. And
I'll hopefully try to remember what it is.
Yeah, try to remember what those was. Clearly, it didn't make enough of an impression on me. Whatever it was that I remembered it. You know what I mean? I just can't remember what it was now. I know I've seen it. I just can't remember what it was. I was trying to think, but I just can't find it.
But
yeah, but let us know down in the comments. Have you seen all these films that we named? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Clearly, if there's any films that didn't make your top 10 yet, come back for the next show. Maybe they'll be in our top 5, and then we also do our honorable mentions as well. So, or maybe we'll. I don't know. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. Or sometimes we will mention the films that didn't quite make our top 10, but films that we definitely love and enjoy. So a lot of those films I own, there's a lot of films that, I don't know about for you, but I know for me, there's a lot of films that aren't in my top 10, but I own it. But there are films that are in my top 10 that I don't own just because I probably won't rewatch it all the time. So that's just I try to only buy things that I know I'm going to rewatch a lot. So there's a lot of just like sometimes dumb comedies or just horror films or action films that didn't necessarily blow it up at the box office or whatever case may be, but I really enjoyed them, so I bought it, and it's like ones that I know I'll rewatch all the time. So so a lot of times those are in my honorable mentions, but I enjoy them and I love them. So cool. Well, in any event, join us next time.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, man.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We'll be back. Like I said, we'll be back with another show. So stay tuned for that, and then obviously we'll also be back hopefully with some new film reviews as well. So we thank you for watching, and as always, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys again real soon. Thank you, and goodbye.